All right.
Welcome, Jay. You're from California too.
Yes, California. Yes, sunny California. A little colder today, but it's been really warm.
Lucky. He's teasing me.
It's not cold, believe me.
No, it's too cold.
Cold for me. Oh my gosh, it was 72.
That's funny.
I
think, guys, since you are living in California, maybe I will think to move to California so we can do our
No. Where do you live?
in Chicago.
Chicago? Oh yes. You have good days too, though. Not in the winter.
But the winter is coming and the windy is coming, so
yeah.
Get ready to be cold.
But I will run away from Chicago next month to go back to Doha, to Qatar, spend some time there, like a month.
Okay.
Just break the cold weather.
Yeah.
I understand. All right. About ready to get started here?
Yes.
Okay, so we're recording. So when we're done, I'll compile the recording and I'll send it to you so you have it and you can go back over it, because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It'll give you an opportunity to go back and, you'll have it forever and you'll just be able to listen to it whenever you want. And little things that you've forgotten, you can go back and look at the different sections. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to separate it by sections so it's not just one big long thing that you have to try and find something. Okay, so it'll take me about an hour or two, and then I'll be able to separate where each of the sections, as best I can, the sections we're going to talk about tonight. That way you'll be able to go to that certain section and look at it. So I'll upload it on YouTube so you can get it anywhere in the world.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I like the idea to separate the sections, so make it easy for me to go back to it when
I'll do the best I can for you.
Thank you.
All right, you want to start out, Malia?
Sure. Okay, so I guess Jeff and I, our first question is just, what are you really trying to discover? What are you really trying to get at? What are you trying to do? What are you ultimately trying to discover in your study?
As you know, we will host the World Cup 2022 in my country, and I'm working in the sport field in Qatar. So also, I've been here in America around 4 or 5 years, and I faced some issues here when I moved here to America, because people, they don't know about my culture. They don't know about Arab and Muslim cultures. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think the World Cup in Qatar, it's a very good chance to show the people the culture of Qatar. Especially, I'm talking about Qatar as small country and modern, and the people there is the society there is there is a big diversity of people, and also the many good sides of the cultures, to be generous and to be good neighbor to others, to be respecting the old people. So I'm willing to find out how the people, because the main goal of hosting this World Cup is to show the country and the world about our culture. Especially, I'm talking seriously, guys, when someone come to Qatar and spend some time in Qatar and they finish their working, they want to stay. And even though they don't work, but they like the people, they like the country, they like the culture. So my goal is to find out how the people and the leaders of this events willing to show their culture to people who will come and people who watching them in the TV. As you know, the last one was in Russia. They changed our mind about them. We thought Russia is just they are people who want to fight or to when we think about Russia, we think about war. We think about Putin. But when we go there and see the people and the culture, it changed our mind about them. Also in Germany, when we think about German people, we think about Hitler. they are just they're tough people and they don't like others, and they don't want to speak like different language. But it's totally different when you go there and when you see how are they generous and how are they friendly. So my goal is to find out how Qatari people anticipate to show their culture and how to learn from people who will come to Qatar. I'm talking about the culture, just the culture. I'm not talking about socially or like,
right. Okay.
Yeah, just I'm concentrating cultural. Do you understand me?
Yeah, I have a couple questions about the country. Is it pretty diverse in regards to religion?
Yes, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just, there's like Chaldeans that are Christians, and there's Muslims, and there's other types of religions,
you can
right?
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can pray who that you want.
Okay. So it sounds like a country that's pretty hospitable, because you're saying, you know, people don't want to leave because they feel so invited, and people are super friendly, and people are like, why am I leaving? And so that's something that is very positive about the culture, that you're hoping that you know, people that are running the event can like reveal to the world, right? Okay. So has Qatar ever hosted a World Cup in the past?
No, even though it's the first country to host the World Cup from Middle East, as an Arab country, as a Muslim country. So there is many things new to the country.
So some of those things about the uniqueness that you just mentioned, about it's the first country in the Middle East, which I think you did mention in the intro, and then that it's the first Muslim country, and those kind of things, you want to set the stage in the beginning, saying how unique it is, which you started to do, you know, just keep on that track. My question is the 6 participants that you've already contacted, what do they know about the interview? Did you tell them what you're going to ask them, or what did you say to them? What do they know so far? What have you told them about the interview?
The main idea of the interview, and they know like the kind of the question I will ask them about the cultural and about how to prepare to like show their culture, and how to prepare to learn from people who will come, and how will they meet their culture, and the different culture will come to the country.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what you've already told them.
Yes.
About it. Okay. So now, what the bottom line is the event hasn't happened yet, right? Because it's going to happen in the future. So when you talk about, like when you emailed me and what you put in your paper, is that you wanted to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Understand.
You wanted to interview the sport leaders in the country that are going to be hosting the event, and you want to ask them about the anticipated benefits to the country and the anticipated benefits to the world. So you're actually asking about an event that didn't take place already. So they can't really talk about their experiences of the event because the event hasn't taken place already. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of challenging because the event hasn't taken place. So if you were still going to be focused on the cultural benefits, they don't really know what the cultural benefits are yet because the event didn't take place yet. So you would have to focus on asking about what the anticipated benefits are, what they think the benefits might be. But that's just based on what you emailed me and what you wrote in your paper. What you just said is a different topic. It's a different focus, because what you just said to me was that you want to examine how the sport leaders in Qatar will show the world about the country, will show the world about Qatar. You said that. how they will show the world about Qatar. And you also said how Qatari people will learn from the people that come to the country for the event. Okay, so how they will show the world, the ways in which they will show the world, is different than the anticipated cultural events, and how Qatari people will learn from foreigners coming to the country is different. Those are two topics that you can join probably, but they're different than the anticipated cultural events. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to get focused on what the three of us, and Jeff, you can chime in. What do you think is
right now? Just keep talking.
Yeah, like what is the most user friendly, because you need to get done in March, right? And you need to interview at least 10, but I think a lot of the literature that Jeff's going to point you to on general qualitative says you have to have 15 participants, which I don't know if you're
no, that's kind of, I'll get to that later.
Yeah. So we need to get focused on whether you're going to what you were saying might be more realistic. If you ask the sport leaders, how do you plan? What methods are you going to use to show what a beautiful Qatari culture there is? Like, what do you plan on doing? What are your methods? Which I don't know if they want to reveal before the event or not, but I mean, you could tell them that it's, not going to be published anytime soon, but
no, actually, sorry, it will help them actually. It's one of their goal is to share their culture, and the study will serve them. And I contacted with the director of the event itself. So he's so happy about the idea and about what I'm gonna do.
Okay, so we might be able to combine, how they will show the world about your country and the cultural the anticipated cultural benefits, and how the Qatari people are going to learn from the foreigners that come. So what are your thoughts, Jeff? Do you think we should narrow it down to two of those, or all three of them, or one of them? Or
I'm going to give you a beginning title for this: The Experiences of Qatar Sports Leaders and the Cultural Benefits of the 2022 World Cup.
Sounds good.
You see how it changed? I'm not sure what legacy benefits. Are you talking about the benefits that are going to happen after everybody leaves?
Maybe, but since I was thinking...
What does legacy benefits mean to you?
Legacy is our old culture, to show it in this events. Okay.
So I don't know if that really needs to be in the title.
Yeah.
That would be something would be actually a very solid section for your lit review and to point towards some of your questions. Okay. So the idea here is that we are now narrowing it down to the cultural benefits. That doesn't mean that the legacy benefits go away. It means that we're really narrowing that title down. So when somebody looks at it, okay, yeah, but you're not, instead of saying of hosting the World Cup, the problem is that if that is so narrow in that thing, and it, like she said, it hasn't happened. Malia said it hasn't happened. Okay, so you're talking about the experiences of pretty much Qatar, the cultural benefits of Qatar. Now, when you're done with this, and the 2022 FIFA Cup, you can go back and do a whole nother study. It would be a whole nother study afterwards, because then you'd have a before and an after. Because now they've actually experienced it, and now they've felt it, and they may have a completely different outlook. Okay, I know the idea of doing another study after your dissertation is, but the bottom line is that's going to be able to hone you down when it comes time to do your data, to talk about many more things than just the World Cup. Now you're looking at all the cultural benefits, and then the bottom line is that as you move through your process here, when you get to your data, you want it to be like throwing a net out on the water. You're trying to grab as much stuff as you can and pull it towards you. The hosting, just the idea of talking about hosting the World Cup, if you ask the question and they really don't know anything about hosting the World Cup, your answers could be very weak. Now, if you talk about the cultural benefits of Qatar, and on the backside you're talking about how it will work in the World Cup, now when you get to your discussion, now you'll be able to swirl all that stuff that you know in there and what you learned from other World Cups, and be able to, you got this, like the top of the waters right here and all this stuff is rolling around that they're talking about. But underneath, now you're coming up and grabbing with what you know before, what you've read before and what you've done before and what you've actually experienced. Because it sounds like you've been to the World Cup before.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you have your own experiences. Now you're adding in what they have. And then because you're inserting yourself into it when you're asking the questions, you already have an idea. And then it's basically whether they push you one way or the other as you're going through. Go ahead, Suzanne.
So Jeff, when he keeps saying questions, he's talking exactly specifically about the interview guide. So the semi-structured interview guide questions that you're going to ask your participants. He's concerned, that's why he keeps going back to the questions. He's concerned you're not going to get enough data, because you have to have enough data for a dissertation. So if you're only asking, okay, well, what do you think the anticipated cultural benefits are to the country, and that's all you're going to ask, then you're not going to get enough data to do the study. Because when you go to write the discussion chapter of the whole dissertation is based on your results, your data, in relationship to the current literature. So if you don't have enough data to talk about in your discussion, then it won't be a whole complete dissertation. So he's concerned about you getting enough data. So when we go to design the purpose statement and the research questions, the purpose statement, the research questions, and then the interview guide, what questions you're going to ask your participants, all have to coincide and match and have the same exact to the letter terminology, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So and I'm going to give an example about terms right now. And you don't have to end up using the term, but like Jeff was basically reading my mind, because my next question on my list was, what do you mean by legacy efforts? Because in some instances you've mentioned legacy efforts, in some instances you said legacy benefits, and some other instances you said social benefits, which I kind of see like cultural and social benefits going together. But if you're going to use the terminology of legacy, whatever it ends up being, legacy efforts or legacy benefits, you need to find a formal definition in the literature or some kind of parallel study in the existing literature that has studied legacy, so you can give your reader on the front end a definition, even if it doesn't have to be a direct quote, but part of it can be your idea and part of it can be related to some study. But you need to draw from what's already out there on legacy benefits or legacy, because you can't just come up with a term and use it and not have a definition for it, and the reader being like, what does this mean? I was reading it going, what does he mean by that? So if you're gonna use it, we've got to find something to define it. And if you're not going to use it, then let's throw it out.
Yeah, I will do.
Yeah. So I don't know what you think is best. It might be easier to minimize, simplify. What do you think, Joe?
No,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Do we need to simplify and take out legacy benefits, or
I think you need to take out legacy benefits. What I kind of want to look at as I read that whole section, it's kind of like what we need to do is we need to tweak it. We don't really want to lose anything, but we want to tweak it so it's narrow enough that you'll be able to broaden in areas that you broaden at certain times and then narrow it back down when you have to. The legacy and all that other stuff. So my question at this point is, are you completely understanding the direction we're trying to push you now?
yes, I do.
Okay. So the big thing that keeps sticking in my mind is changing it from the World Cup and changing it to the idea of what is the Qatar's, I'm going to just call them your Qatar participants, experiences of the culture. Now, when in the interview guide, one of your questions could end up being something to the idea of, have you ever been to a World Cup? Okay, or have you ever experienced the World Cup? Or what was your experience of the World Cup? Because be it that it has never been there, you can foreshadow the next question, which would be, what differences in culture will you find from, let's say, the World Cup that you attended? And then what you're doing is you're just mining for as much information as you can out of there. As I read the first part of your paper and everything, there's a lot of good stuff in there. But as soon as we take this purpose statement and that change, getting the title change, getting that purpose statement down, and your research questions, then that's what drives the rest of your paper. Because you want everything to be able to answer those research questions and your purpose statement. If your research questions are weak, then what happens is when it comes time to really answer them in your discussion, you won't be able to. Now, understand that you can write them out now, but when you're done, you may have to go back and tweak them again a little. I had to tweak mine a little bit because some of the stuff went completely different in a different direction. There was some things that I thought when you write it, you're thinking this is what's going to happen. And then when it happens, you go, oh my gosh, it wasn't even close. I had to go back and I had to tweak them a little bit. So that way, when I went to write that discussion, now I'm just going right at it. And your discussion becomes extremely easy to write. And that's our goal, is when you get to that last section of the discussion, all the hard work you're going to do in the next month or two will make that last section to just go. It took me a long time to get through the front part of it. Once I got through that front part and I did the question and the data took me like 2 weeks to write.
Okay, I just sent everybody what I think the purpose is. Can you guys read it in the chat?
You see at the bottom, you click the chat.
Do you see it?
That's perfect.
How do we, what's the intro for the central research questions? Central research questions this study examined were as follows, or something like that. I'll come up with a different verb, but this study examined were as follows. So what do you think? What do you think? Remind me how to say your name again. Senaid? No. Senaid.
Yeah.
Senaid.
Like snake, but end with D.
Senaid.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think about the purpose that I just came up with?
It's sound clear and easy for me. I like it.
Okay. So
yeah, so I'm talking about something I can like find out, and I totally agree with it. I like it. And this is what I need, actually. I don't mind to change and to like go with you and narrow it down. And that's why I do need your help. And I'm so happy to meet you and to talk about it.
Okay, good.
So let me do this. Let me share my screen real quick. And I'm going to bring up your paper. So you should be able to see it now, right?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Okay. So here's your purpose of the study. Okay. The idea here is you have some very, very good stuff in here. So do not get rid of it. You still, no matter what, and if you understand, I call it regurgitation. You're going to do things over and over and over again. You just have to change the direction of how you say it. I call it a flaw of dissertation writing, but it really is something where you have to say the same thing.
You hungry, honey? Why don't you go?
Sometimes say it a little shorter. Sometimes say it a little longer. So like in this section, okay. Like when you get
the apple go-go,
the top here is fine, except to get rid of the purpose of the study. You want to intro this paragraph right here with information. Quick synopsis of the information again. Like the results of this research will demonstrate. You're gonna kind of rework that sentence, but that's really good at the beginning of it. But then see how it says sports provide a connection between culture and the world. Okay, and you see references here. That's where you start. You want these to start with a hook. So I like the fisherman. I always like Fisher. I don't know why. I guess I'm a fan of The Deadliest Catch. You want to
do fishing.
You want to throw your.
Okay, Jeff, I'm going to go and get her milk, and okay. I just typed in the research questions. So read the research questions, and I'll be right back.
You want to at the beginning of your paragraphs, you want to throw a hook in the water, and each section that starts, you want that hook to go in the water and reel me in. Now, there's two ways to reel me in. First is having a great first sentence, but then you want to have a couple authors that you found, at least 2, maybe 3, to be able to show that there's other people that are saying it. That supporting evidence is real important. And then the rest of this, like you started there and you went to the FIFA and some of this other stuff. Of course, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but then down a little farther, like here, in this area right here, somewhere down here, that's where you're going to hit the purpose of the study. And then you have your rationale right there, which you may have to tweak a little bit now, but that's good. But you really want the top to be something that leads in, and at the end you're going to get the purpose statement, and then your what do you call it? Then like you have your rationale right here. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, if you're hitting me right away with the purpose statement, why do I need to read the rest of the paragraph? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So chat 1. Okay, so the central research questions for the study examined were as follows. A, what are Qatari sports leaders' experience of the culture of Qatar? What are the Qatari sport leaders' plans in regards to planning the World Cup? And what are Qatari sport leaders' plans in regards to hosting the World Cup?
Is that redundant?
No, because the other 2 questions are what we're still trying to find that out. Am I correct?
What do you mean?
Well, the first question is the most important question, but the other 2 are other stuff that we're going to be looking at. Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah. I mean, so when you go to develop your semi-structured interview question, the semi-structured qualitative interview questions for your interview guide, then you have to really look at your central research questions. So you have to use a very similar terminology that you're using in the research question to ask your participants. Do you understand?
Yes. I have to be around the main question and ask about it and around it, and right?
Yeah. And when you're use the same terminology, like the same phrases and stuff, So
that's perfect.
The ways in which they're planning to plan the event, the methods that they're going to use to host the event, to try to reveal the positive benefits and the positive cultural aspects of the country.
Okay, so are we good? Are we good with both those?
Help me with the research question more. Like, I do need to have enough information about the research question.
So your whole idea is that Qatar has this beautiful, hospitable, lovely culture that no one knows about because it's a small country. And this is your chance to reveal these things. And I'm sure that the people that you're interviewing are probably feeling the same way, right? So your first initial thing is to ask the people that you're interviewing, what do you think about our culture? Without the reason why you're not taking a positive or negative route, you're going to kind of stay neutral to see what they say, which is why we're saying, what are the Qatari sport leaders' experiences of the culture, right? Well, that's pretty open-ended. So if you come up with the interview question saying, hey, what do you think about, what do you think of, you don't even have to say what. You could just say, you don't have to phrase it in a question. You could just say, tell me about the culture of Qatar. And then that starts the interview. Get them talking about the culture. Then once they start talking, you can probe on anything that they mention. So if they mention something that's positive, or even if they say the word positive, or if they mention that people are friendly or hospitable or anything that's you don't have to, you can probe on whatever you want to probe on, which probe means you're going to continue asking more detail about that concept that they already mentioned. So if they mention something negative and you really don't, that's not the focus of your study, then you're not going to ask more questions about that topic. But if they start talking about, people have no idea that when people come here and visit here that they don't want to leave, and then you're getting them to talk about those things that you're trying to, the cultural benefits that you already have in mind, right?
Right.
Okay, so you get them talking, and then you can say, well, what are your plans for revealing these cultural aspects about our country? What are your plans about revealing these cultural benefits and these cultural aspects of our country? And the methods, what are the ways in which you want to host the World Cup by revealing, to reveal these things? And do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I like it.
Okay, so what are their ideas about, how can we get that message out there to the world, and given the platform that we have, how can we get these messages out to the world and also make it a hospitable event for people? What do you sport leaders that are hosting the event, what are you specifically going to do to make it hospitable, or make it enjoyable, or make it so people get to join together and learn from each other? Are you going to have social events where people from other countries get together? You want to get what their ideas are pretty much, but that's kind of an example. What are your ideas about getting people together and getting the social benefits of hosting this event? And what are your ideas on how to make this a smooth event where people can enjoy each other too, not just the sport, not just the game, but they're going to be enjoying the whole being there,
Yes.
Let me jump in here real quick. Okay, so there was two things I heard you say right at the beginning. First, am I right? The first Afghani. You said the first Afghani country to have the World Cup. Is that right?
No.
First Middle Eastern country.
First Middle East. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
First Middle Eastern, and also the first Muslim country.
And Arab country too. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bottom line is you have two major factors there that you really are going to have to exploit.
Yeah.
Okay. To really make it well-rounded, there are cultural experiences that just you understand, but you also have the cultural experiences that everybody else doesn't understand. I know very little. As a person, I know very little about your country, and I know very little about your customs, cultures, and all of that. So the idea here is that as you're building it, you're trying to get them to understand in your interview is that you want to be able to pull out how they believe their culture will be shown in a positive light. And basically in the idea of different cultural aspects of your country. And now we go back to the word benefits. So it's two separate things. There is the actual things that are happening and the actual things that you're really hoping to have from the experiences that they have had in the past. So I think that the research questions really hit on that. The research questions hit on that whole part, because when this really goes off and the event really goes off, it's going to truly show a whole different side, especially of the Muslim country, a Muslim religion. So I think that that where you're at is a good place, but now we just need to take it to the next level.
No, I just put in a
really push it forward.
I just put in another question. So, but I don't know. Maybe it could be a question based on. We could turn it into the interview guide question. What do you think? Or I don't know if it's another research question, but what are the cultural experiences that the Qatari sport leaders prefer those who attend the World Cup actually experience?
No, that's a question for the interview guide.
Yeah. So that who attend that they actually experience. Yeah. So you can turn that into a question for your participants. Something like, what specific cultural experiences would you like the fans or the visitors, something like that? What specific cultural experiences would you, because you're talking to the sport leaders, right? Would you like the visitors to experience? I'll put it in the chat. Then you can copy and paste it out of there. Something like that. Is that kind of what you're looking at? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question to ask,
So I'm thinking that where you really need to start is to get your research question taken care of, get the research question section taken care of, your purpose statements section taken care of, and I'm trying to think what else. There was another section I was really looking at. Because how do you say it, Emily? You said, if you were going to eat an elephant, would you eat it all at once or would you take small bites?
Yeah.
I learned that from her when she was my teacher.
So you just want to like take, I don't mind if you submit one section to me at a time in email, with an attachment or whatever, and then I can polish it and then you can, or give you feedback and you can send it back to me and you can polish it and send it back to me and then say, hey, this one section, like whether it's just a paragraph or it's just the purpose or just the central research questions, then we can say, okay, that looks good. That section is done because we went back and forth I gave you feedback, you fixed it, you sent it back to me, and I said, okay, it's good to go now. You know what I mean? If that makes things easier for you, because I know when you looked at you looked at how many comments I put in, right?
That's okay. Most of them are grammatically and like spelling mistakes. So I understand it like this. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't get so overwhelmed. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because if we nail one section at a time, once it's done, we can put it away until we actually have, only if we have to go back and change it because if something happened. So the idea is to get that chapter 1 locked down. Reader has chapter 2. We'll work on chapter 3. So when you turn something in, so like if you do a couple of the sections and get them done, then we can do a little bit of email, and then we'll set another time to have a short meeting to go over it to make sure we're on the same page as we're going through. And what it does is we're doing a real long one tonight, but the idea is to once you give us a section, we kind of go through it. We'll get you the edits, then we meet and talk about things, and way we can have a 15-20 minute meeting where we just kind of go, this is where we're at, these are the things you still need to do, and go. That way you have it on a video like this, and you'll be able to just you'll be able to run with the ball, and it'll move along really fast because you already have a great start here. Now we just need to move it to the next level and get everything lined up, and once you're done, you'll be moving toward, because the key is you've got to get this to IRB, because you never know how long IRB is going to take. Yeah. Or what questions they're going to come back with.
Yeah, okay? Because when you have to be approved before you start interviewing these people.
Right.
I know.
You know what
so
I mean?
The key is to get this 1, 2, and 3 done as quickly as possible and have it solid enough so you can write the IRB, and then you submit the IRB to us and we check it, and then you turn it in, and then however long that process takes. Once you get that, during that period of time, you're going to have your interview guide getting ready to go, and all your participants ready to go. So as soon as you're done, you can start just getting your interviews done and getting them out of the way. That way we can teach and work with you on how to analyze them and get everything squared away. That way you can write your results section, and then you're downhill from there. Then you might as well be on a bobsled. You're rolling toward the bottom of the hill. Okay.
Well, let him ask some questions and talk.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you have any questions?
I prefer to work on sections and send it and finish from it and keep it away, because last night I was working on all the editing you make it, and I thought I saved it, but I didn't. So I lost. So yeah, I prefer to work to finish the purpose of the study and keep it away and work on the other sections. I think this will be better for me and for you.
Okay. Yeah. And then whatever you send me, like when you send it back to me on email after you've put in your edits and then I get it back, I always will save it, and I save it on multiple. My stuff is all backed up. So when you send it back to me, I'll save it under a file for you, and it'll be labeled whatever section it was. So then it'll all be organized. And so that's a big thing, is about file names.
Oh, yeah. I think we are struggling on chapter 1. I don't think so. We will have many things on chapter 2, the literature review. I don't think so. We have to change many things in it, right? What do you think?
You know what? I guess there's 3 people on our committee, and the person that is the reader, I think his name is Melvin Landry. Yes. I need to actually find out from Dr. Maya what happened to him, because she told me that's who the reader is, but I've sent several emails to him to see if he could give you feedback on chapter 2, and I haven't heard anything. So I'm going to have to find out from Dr. Maya tomorrow.
I can contact him because I have his cell phone, and he usually prefer to contact him through the cell phone.
Oh, okay. Because I contacted him several times and I haven't heard anything, so I didn't know what to think.
I will text him tonight and see what's going with him.
Yeah, if he could give you edits and feedback on chapter 2, that would be great. If he doesn't end up doing it, I don't know what to do.
We didn't start like editing chapter 2 yet, so we're still on chapter 1, right?
Yeah.
Right.
One
Okay.
step at a time. That's a good
So,
point.
Now, in terms of the methodology, which is really my area, I like general qualitative. It'll be good for this because you don't have to look for the essence. You don't have to. My next questions are, what methodology books do you have in your possession?
The books I do use to learn from, to like follow or to.
Right. So do you have Creswell?
I have Croswell, yes.
Okay. Do you have Patton?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. I'm going to send you a link, okay, to a website that's called pdfdrive.com, okay?
Okay.
And it's basically PDFs of a lot of books. So I'm not sure Patton's on there, but I know Creswell's on there and a couple other ones. But
And if you can send the Croswell too, so it's better to read it from the laptop because I do prefer to read from my computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will get you that, and then if you have any questions on how to do it, basically just put in whatever title. There's thousands and thousands of titles on there. So just type in qualitative research. It'll give you a whole bunch of books to look at.
And they have an article about the.
Now I'm getting to the Percy article. Is that Percy? Is there a new Percy article? Is that 2015? Because I tried to find if there's a 2017. The article's in 2015. That article is probably as minimal as you could possibly get.
Yeah, I just put in the chat the book that you need to get from Patton. You can get it on Amazon.
I would tell you to rent it.
You can rent it too.
You can rent it.
I rented a couple books recently from Amazon.
Okay, I will go.
But
Patton will help you in terms of when you're talking about qualitative research, but it is never going to go to what you're doing for your dissertation. So when you're talking about I can't say general, qualitative research itself, Patton is the book.
Yeah.
Now the article itself, to me, it's really tough to start out with, but if you've got to really focus in on the areas of what it is, what it does, and its procedures. Okay? Those things are probably the most important parts. Becoming very, very familiar with it will help you to write the rest of your methodology section and moving forward to do your actual write-up, because it's done differently than some of the other ones. Now, the difference is, if you were going to do Moustakis and you were going to do that method, you're really looking for the essence of what's going on. In general qualitative, you're looking at basically what did they say and what does it mean, and keep that in your mind. Okay? The one thing I'll tell you writing-wise is say what you – and I mean, this had to be pounded into me while I was doing my dissertation. Okay? Say what you mean and mean what you say. So when you're reading something, does it say exactly what I want it to say, as concise as it possibly can be? Keep it very short, sweet, to the point, but really say what you mean and mean what you say. And you did that in a lot of the sections. And then every once in a while, you kind of get away from it. You really want to stay focused in on exactly what you wanted to say at that moment. And then it'll speak volumes to what you're doing, especially when you get to the discussion. So keep that in your mind, that when you're writing, when you go back and you reread it, does it say exactly what I want it to say? Or is there extra stuff in there that probably won't be needed? Because that's what they did to mine. They said, you don't need this sentence. You don't need the sentence. You already said it. You already said it. You already said it. The other one I want to tell you about is I'm going to be sending you a video that I made for APA, the in-text citations. So if I go back up to the top of your paper, I know it's up there. Where is it? Right here, like these right here. And this situation that you have up here, like on December 22nd, okay, on December 2010. And let's see, like this right here. It's going to help you to be able to really look at that and understand how to write that citation, which will save you tons of time. And
Yeah.
I'm not worried about your reference page yet.
Does he have the APA manual?
Do you have an APA manual?
Yes.
Okay. So use that, but I've got this video that's going to talk about just the simple things to be ready to get you through this beginning, and then as we move forward, we'll get you other things that will help you out, okay? Because we're just trying to save you time. You need to save time as much as you can. I know it's something else. So, Suzanne, what do you think? Do the purpose statement, do your research questions, and then we can start working on the other stuff.
Well, we did the purpose and the research questions tonight, so
he's got to rewrite it.
Yeah. So that needs to be put into, and for the purpose of the study, he doesn't have to get what I forgot about the directions. I'm trying to, the template. The template is I think it says to put more than just the purpose.
I've already gone over that with him.
Okay.
While you went to get milk.
Okay, good.
I went over it. He's got some good stuff in there to use. But
okay.
Now we it's just kind of moving stuff around and deciding what he wants to keep and not keep. And I told him where to put the purpose statement. He's got a little bit on the rationale here at the end here, which is really good. So he can keep that, and then we can go from there. And then in this section, you're explaining each of the research questions. It's not necessary.
Yeah. Just put what the research questions are.
Just put what the research questions are.
Yeah.
Because basically now that regurgitation is too much. You already said that before. You've already said this before. Your rationale is where this is going to end up. The rationale really is it says rationale for methodology. What was the other one? The design purpose.
And when you look at the template, we have the template. I can send it to you again if you don't have it. Let me know. But you want to make sure the sections are in the same order as the template.
Correct.
Because I think they're kind of out of order right now, I think. And then what Jeff's trying to basically say is you need to write in a more concise manner. So the paper isn't too wordy, like too wordy. It's like you want to try to write in a more direct manner and simplify. So you actually don't want to get too elaborate, because the one thing you have to understand about writing dissertation, it's very, very technical writing. It's not supposed to be entertaining. It's really technical, and it's very precise and kind of black and white. It's not that creative. So when you write a dissertation, it seems really repetitive, because you'll get to another section on the template and they'll say, what's your problem of your study? Again? You have to talk about that again? You know what I mean?
And then you have to reword it.
Yeah. So it's like, when it comes to the actual purpose statement itself, it's okay to repeat it, because you want that to stay the same, or in the essential research questions, you want that to stay the same. But it does start to become kind of repetitive. And because of that, if you're already a kind of a wordy writer, and then on top of that, the nature of the dissertation is repetitive, it gets to be too much. You know what I mean? Like Jeff just said, oh, you already said that thought, well, don't keep repeating the thoughts. Try to be really concise and follow the template and put in what needs to go in that section according to the template, and that's it. Don't put any extras in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, so no extras, just right to the point. Central research questions, that's all you get. You know what I mean?
Don't worry. You're going to blow that up a whole bunch of times till you get it right. Ask Suzanne how long it took me to to actually get it to where she did it again.
Long time.
And then all of a sudden it'll just kind of click in. The other thing, one other thing I want before I get away, the 2022 FIFA World Cup, TM. You're going to say that 1,000 times. I don't know if you want to just call it the World Cup or you want to shorten it so you don't have to do the TM every time. Because if you look just in the purpose of the study, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can say from that point on, you can call it World Cup. And a reader's going to understand that you're talking about that World Cup. Or if you're going to change it to just the 2022 World Cup and put it in a parentheses after the very first time, then everybody's going to know that it's FIFA. They're going to know it's World Cup, and you're going to have the TM. And
yeah, it'll simplify a little bit.
Yeah, it's for readability.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm thinking if you worked on your purpose statement and got that taken care of, you got your research questions taken care of, and then we can move back up here to after that. Where's that section we have to get to next? After that, after that we'll meet and we'll be able to start working on the background of the study. Okay, and we can really hone that down because you're probably gonna have to tweak it a little bit because we changed the research questions. Some of the stuff you're gonna be able to keep. Some of it you're just gonna. But we want this. This is probably about the right length, but it might even be just a little bit too long. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
In the background of the study, you want to be able to introduce the study and then its background, and then you want to start to bring in the literature a little bit, and then finish it up and be done.
Okay.
And then I took notes too for you, so I'll send that to you. Like some of the stuff that I put in the chat, I typed out in a Word document.
And then once all that's done, then you and I can meet and we can really hone down your methodology. Okay, and really hone in on what things you really need to do. But when you step away from this portion, you can already get started. You need to really make a list using that article of like your participants. You need to be able to give a synopsis of what you're looking for in participants, and that because that's going to be a real big part of all of your IRB. Your methodology is the most important part of that IRB.
Oh yeah. So being
they're
able
really looking forward to see if you're going to cause any harm. Me personally, I don't see any harm. Okay. But how we propose that methodology, we'll move it through very quickly. You know, what is their kind of like you already know some of your participants. So what is their backgrounds? What do they bring to the study? What is their importance? You know, those kind of things. And then once we do that, your IRB will be very easy and systematic to write out because it's just going to be a lot of just copy and paste and adding a little bit here and there. And then you're going to be able to turn it in and get that ball rolling. Okay. And then that'll cover, let's see. It's not after you've done that. And the last thing you'll work on is basically the introduction. Don't touch your abstract. Just pretend it's not even there. Because
it's going to change.
That is your last thing that you do.
It changes.
Because you'll be able to write it in 15 minutes because you'll be so solid on everything you have. You'll just bam, 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 and you'll be done with it. Okay? Don't worry about the research topic. That'll be the last thing you do. Okay? Along with the background study will come after the first section we do. And then what is it? The purpose you're going to do first. The research questions you're going to do first. The rationale for the methodology is later after we've done those two things. And then you can do your definition. You can add in your definition of terms to that first section. Okay? And then we'll do the summary and your research topic after all the rest of those other sections are done.
Oh, yeah. the summary is like the last paragraph of that whole chapter, and it only needs to be like maybe 2 paragraphs, maybe.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two short
You're going
paragraphs.
to find that we're going to take a lot of your stuff and we're going to go and make it really small and really right to the point.
Oh, I understand, guys. You didn't count the number of debates, right? Doesn't matter.
I haven't found anything in
page number
documents that says doesn't have anything to do, doesn't say anything about page numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
the bottom line is you're writing until it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're following the template and you have the content that they're looking for, you're fine. So try to start thinking about some of the details or about your participants, you know, like who they are. And because you have to, like Jeff was saying, you have to describe who they are. And when you're thinking about that, you have to think about the demographics, age, gender, race, socioeconomic status, class level, community they grew up in.
I don't know if he'd have community he grew up in, but he would have, I don't know.
Where have they lived in Qatar all their life? You know,
yes.
You know, that kind of thing. Are they a native or not? Or, you know, all of these things.
Demographic section, and then you're going to have your interview guide. I need you to take the pictures out. Okay? You're going to use them, but they go in the appendix.
Okay.
We may decide later on to put them in, but right now take them out, put them in a little file, call it pictures for dissertation, hold on to that, and then we will decide whether it's going to fit in somewhere or if it's going to go directly in your appendix. You may even have it at the very beginning. We'll decide that at the very, very end. So the pictures are solid and great, and they look great, but we want to be able, those have to be incorporated into the right spot. So just take them all out for right now, put them away, and we'll come back to them later. And then once you're done with that, we're on to you're working on chapter 2, and then you and I have got to spend a little time on the methodology. Okay. You've got a lot of really good stuff in here, but then we have to go back and we're going to have to really hone it down and bring it in and make sure it says exactly what we need it to say in the second. Research design, study population is going to have to be fixed. A lot of these are going to have to be fixed, but it's going to be really pointed toward Percy and Patton and Creswell. Okay, those are going to be the 3 that we're really going to go after. So what I'm going to be sending you is, I'm going to send you the YouTube for the APA that you need to watch. I'm going to send you the PDF drive .com thing. And basically all it is once you find a book that you want to look at, you click on it. If it's downloadable, it'll tell you. If it's not, it's not. And then after that, the book is yours. It goes right into Adobe, and you can just span through the pages. You can do it. You're welcome to pull any book that you want out of that PDF drive that's talking about research methods, qualitative research methods. You may not use those other names in there, but it'll continually give you a different perspective, so it will help build that, okay? And then you'll have your source of the data, so on and so forth, all these other little things. And we will be able to, at that point, break down all of this section. And then you're ready to move on and get ready for IRB. And I think you have to present and sell this product to us as a group. Okay?
Okay.
Suzanne, anything else you want to add?
Just Senaid, let me know what Melvin says, the reader, about chapter 2. And because I haven't contacted Dr. Maya yet, so which is probably good because you said you could contact him. So I'd rather get that. I'd rather get that accomplished than have to go through her because she's really busy. So let me know if he's actually going to take another look at chapter 2 and actually give you a set of edits. let me know what he says in an email so I know the status of that, what's going on with that chapter. Okay.
Okay.
I do want to give you a heads up about the literature review when I read it. Regardless if you put it in there or not, you need to change your direction a little bit and do some more research in the area of cultural differences, not only in your country, but think of it as worldly. So you want to go through the literature and find as much information. You don't have to write anything up at this moment, but you want to if you spend a little time every other day or whatever, just getting as much information on cultural differences in sport.
Did you check the literature review, Jeff?
Yeah, I read it.
Okay.
I read it, but the thing is that not only are we talking about your literature review, we're talking about your discussion. So now that we've changed it a little bit, if the reader says that the literature review is great and it's good, I'm telling you now it's time to start researching for your discussion. So you should never have dead time. You're either continuing to research on cultural differences. Now understand, cultural differences in sport, cultural differences in business, cultural differences just in life in general. Think worldly when you're doing this. Gather as many articles as you can and get them in your library. So when it comes time for your data to be analyzed and everything else, and then you move to your discussion, you already have an arsenal of things that you can go back and say, hey, I remember a quote right here. I remember a quote here. I remember a quote here. And then what you have in the end is you won't have to go look for things, because looking at your lit review, you don't have a lot on cultural differences. You have something in there, but now that we're really going to hone in on that portion of it, unless the reader approves it and the reader goes for it, now you're moving all that stuff to your discussion. So as things come up, because you're looking in the discussion, you're looking for similarities and you're looking for contrast.
And so, but he can also gather any scholarly articles on the culture of Qatar, right?
Right.
Okay.
Anything. Name as many different kinds. Talk about business cultures of your country compared to someone else, because there is a business aspect to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And that may come out. Go through the World Cup and think of anything that you can think of. Okay, cultural differences between your country and Russia and so on and so forth. It can be related to sport or it can be related to real life. It doesn't matter.
You just have to you have to expand your ideas when you do the lit review, because then if you don't, you won't have a lit review. So you have to go into other areas that are non-sport related, say communications, religion, business, all of these types of these databases. The databases, you have to check every database out there and put the word, your country name in there, or put World Cup in there. You have to. That's why he's saying there's no dead time, because if you want to get this done by March, you should always be working on it, always be thinking about it, so you can get it done. You know what I mean? So you can.
I used to take an hour every morning, and I would just put in. I'd try to figure out 3 words to put in there, and I would amass as many articles as I could, just looking at the abstract. And then when it came time to really started this stuff, I was then able to put them in different files. I would then later in the day, I would go in and I'd say, well, this kind of goes to this, and this kind of goes to this, this kind of goes to this. I made a list of all of them, and I rated them out, and basically I was able to, when it came time to do the discussion, I was just able to start grabbing stuff, either a little nugget or the whole article or whatever it was. But that's what really moved my discussion was written in 5 days, because I had already had enough literature. I had amassed hundreds and hundreds of articles over that period of time that were just sitting there. And when I needed them, I just started going and looking for keywords that I had. So that kind of makes sense. So start Get a file and just start throwing articles in there. Throwing articles in there. Throwing articles in there. Throwing articles in there. Okay.
Yeah. They need a.
The other thing I want to ask you is, do you have a reference manager program on your computer? So like EndNote or RefWorks
for your references. So
for your references.
To keep track of your references, there's software.
Yeah.
EndNote.
Which one are you using?
But I do need one. Like, just suggest anything.
Yeah, maybe EndNote.
I would say EndNote. Well, there's a free one out there called Mendeley, and I'll send you the link for it.
Okay.
And there's videos on YouTube that you should watch, and that's how I learned how to use theirs. You can there's things that you can grab all the articles and put all the articles in there with the abstract and everything else that you need, and it will help you when you're building your reference page. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll send you that one. I think that one will be a real good one for you. EndNote's a little bit different, but this one is real nice because it'll grab, not only that, it will grab the whole article if it's available. So you don't have to go back and keep searching for it. If you find there, so it'll attach the actual PDF to it, and then all you have to do is click on it and open the PDF. But there's some videos you can watch and get that done. So I'm going to send you the APA, Mendeley, and what was the other one I needed to send him? I lost my train of thought.
The APA video I put in.
Oh, PDF drive, APA video.
I put that in his notes in an email.
To Mendeley, and I'll send you one. I'll send you a link to one of the Mendeley demonstrations, and then you can just go from there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Okay. Questions, Senaid?
Nothing. Actually, I have to work on them and fix as I can. Then I will, for sure, I will have more questions later when I work on the stuff that you gave it to me already. So if I have any questions, I will email it to you.
Yeah, you can always email me. That's fine.
Yeah, the one thing I want to tell you is that if there's a question, you need to ask it.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I know. Well, we want to make sure that it's really clear, because if you have a question and you're holding on to it, it's going to stall you out. We want to keep you moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward.
Make it easy for me, guys, tonight to meeting you. Actually, I just feel I start my dissertation tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, but you have a head start. So it's basically now we're just going to hone it down and get you ready to go and get you to graduation.
Yeah, so just keep, I don't care if you email me 10 times a day. I'm on my phone, email all day. So you can text me too. You can call me. You can Skype me, whatever you want to do.
The best thing if you have a question is to put us in a group, and then just text it. Either one of us will pop on there as quickly as possible and text it back.
Yeah, you can text me.
Emailing is fine, but you're on
text is fast.
Feel free to text.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I think she stays up later than I do, so if you text me at 7 o'clock at night, you're not going to, well, let's see, 11 o'clock at night would be 8 o'clock here. You'd probably still be good. If you're doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll be asleep.
Yeah, but you wake up earlier than me.
I wake up at 4 in the morning. And
so he's the early one.
If it's still sitting there, you'll get an answer between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. Does not mean you have to wake up and answer it, but it'll be there when you wake up. Okay?
That sounds good, actually. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so we're good to go for right now, right?
I'm going to go feed my dad, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to take the video, and I will splice it up a little bit, and I'll get it to you and the rest of that stuff before the evening's over.
Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Yes, great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.